evening for Senior Parent Night. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Kevin Harrington. I have the privilege and honor of being the principal here at Country Grove High School. And tonight you'll be getting an overview of what to expect for your students' senior year. Before we get started, I'd like to cover just some general information. So if you could please keep your microphone muted throughout the meeting. We are recording this evening so that we can post this for people who couldn't attend live. And the camera jumps to any sound. So if you cue your mic, it'll jump to you. So if you don't want to be posted on the webpage, make sure you keep your microphone muted, please. And then please use the chat feature for any questions you might have. So it's in the top right-hand corner of your screen. It looks like a little balloon, like you would see in a cartoon, or a little thought bubble. So you can just press on that and you can type your questions in there. Next, I'd like to thank our counselors, Mrs. Vicki Evans and Mr. Rex Basting, and our college and career guru, Ms. Lacey Guest. They'll be taking you through information this evening. And lastly, before we begin, I'd like to introduce the rest of the administrative team. So Assistant Principal, Mr. Chris Wells. So Chris, if you could cue your mic and say something so they can see you.
Hi, I'm Chris Wells. I think this is the start of my 17th year at Country Grove High School. I see a lot of faces I know and all the people here. Thank you guys for trusting us with your kids, and it's nice to see them finally up here as seniors.
Thanks, Chris. And then Mrs. Tammy Sandifer, she's new to the team this year.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Sandifer, and I am new this year, and I'm another friendly face that is here to serve you, and I'm going to piggyback off Chris. Thank you for trusting us with your kids. We're really glad to have them.
And last but certainly not least, our AD/assistant principal, so our athletic director and assistant principal, Mr. Matt Myers.
Good evening. As Kevin said, Matt Myers. It's my second year at the high school. It's my 16th year in education, and just thanks a bunch for being here. I know it's right around dinner time, and appreciate you carving out a few minutes to share your evening with us. Hopefully, I think you're going to get a lot of good information tonight.
So the way to work this evening is I'm going to just kind of moderate the chat, and we're going to turn it over to Vicki and Rex and Lacey to walk us through the rest of the presentation.
Okay, actually, Kevin, I thought you were going to do the next section, but that's okay. I'll jump in there. That's okay. You had the first slide. So thank you again, everyone, for being here. It really has been my privilege working with your kids the last 3 years. And I'm excited for this year. I truly hope that by the time we turn the corner in 2021, we're ready to come back into the building and have the last half of the year be as normal as possible. We have a saying here at the high school, this is our for now, it's not our forever. And so we really want things to get back to where your kids will walk across the stage in graduation, where we have our fingers and toes crossed for that. So Kevin, you want to jump to the next slide? We just want to make sure you all have access to home access, and you know how to get onto your student's account so that you can be checking for grades and attendance. You probably remember from last year, your students are all on Google Classroom, and that's the platform that teachers are using to present their instruction, grade papers, receive papers and assignments and quizzes, but you'll still use home access to be able to look at grades and attendance. Our school website's on there. If you need any help accessing that, just call either Rex or myself. We can get in and look at the username and passwords for you. Lacey has done a fabulous job of putting together a monthly newsletter for you. She'll send that out digitally. I don't think we'll be mailing those home, but we'll be emailing, and it'll have all the information that you need throughout the year that deals with everything school-related, career-related, financial aid. It's just a wealth of information. And then she also created an Instagram page and Facebook, so you can follow the College and Career Center on all those platforms. Okay, Rex, you want to take it from here?
Okay, I just have to make sure I can unmute myself. Okay, so these are some of the really important parts that I know you guys are all wondering about. So graduation right now is planned for June 12th. And as of right now, we are planning on having that on the field as usual. Things may change. We don't want to think about that right now, but we hope to just have it on the field like we do on the other non-COVID years. And we will have more information later down the road for sure. Next on there is about minors grad. So minors grad is where we get all of our caps and gowns, your announcements. They call it your grad swag. It could be sweats, it could be t-shirts, it could be things like that that say seniors on it. We would like to have those ordered by sometime in November. That way you guys can get your stuff early. Things like the cap and gown, those will not come until usually the end of May, beginning of June. But things like sweatshirts, t-shirts, sweats, the tassel that has the grad year on it, those will all come as soon as you order them. So order those as soon as you can. And the announcements will come in a couple months. So you can get those sent out to friends and family. Next is transcripts. So we will be mailing those out to every senior at home. Please take a look at the transcripts. Make sure you know where your student is at as far as graduation and credits go. And if you have questions, please contact Mrs. Evans or myself. I can help as well. And if you need a transcript, a PDF copy of a transcript to send to a school for a scholarship or anything else like that, please email Vicki Evans or myself, and we can download that and send it to you. If you've had an address change or a phone number change or even an email change, please let us know that as well. And send those emails to Tina Crivello, and the email address is listed right there. And that's really important for us to get a hold of you with important graduation information as well. The first progress report, it will come out October 21st. You can check your students' grades on Home Access Center. That should be open now for viewing. It may not be updated as of yet since your students have only had Thursday and Friday of class so far, but it will be updated like it was previously, about one every week or every other week. The parent-teacher conferences, we are going to have those on October 28th and 29th. So those, again, will look a little bit different. They will be virtual. There will be an email that gets sent out on how to sign up for those. It will be through Google Calendar. On the Wednesday, it will be from 2:30 to 8. And Wednesday, it will be, on Wednesday, it'll be 2:30 to 8. And Thursday, it'll be 3:30 to 8. So you'll get a link. You can sign up for those on Google Calendar with a specific time that you can meet with those teachers. So keep an eye out for that. Next on the list, senior seminar. So this part is really important. And again, everything's a little bit different with COVID, but this is a time when right now it's Mrs. Evans has a chance to go in and talk to your students every other week about really important graduation things. And it's going to be everything. It's going to be how to fill out the FAFSA. It's going to be how to fill out scholarships or where to find scholarships. They'll talk about resumes, and there's a lot of really important stuff that happens in senior seminar. And those will happen every other week. And it will happen in either the senior seminar classes, which are Principles of Democracy or Personal Finance, or their language arts class. And this will go on the entire year, every other week. And Miss Guest will also be there. Sorry, I didn't want to forget Miss Guest. They'll both be there all year long to answer any questions you or your student have about graduation, about scholarships, about applying for colleges and things like that. So it's really important that your students make it to senior seminar. The credits. So we are still requiring 75 credits to graduate. That has not changed. but this year it has changed that students do not need the SBAC testing and they don't have to complete the senior project. So I know a lot of students are probably bummed about that. They don't have to give a speech in front of the teachers and be graded on it. But that has been suspended for this year for all seniors.
And then just before we transition, a couple of questions in the chat. Looks like Ms. Guest will be sending out the first newsletter tomorrow. So look in your email for that. And if you don't receive it, go ahead and send her a remind text or an email. And then for ordering from minors, just go on the minors website and it will ask you to identify which school you attend. And then Natalie has a question about FAFSA that I think we'll get to a little bit later.
Okay, so the next section, I'm just going to go over briefly your current class schedule. So it's really important for seniors to keep that academic rigor throughout this year. And many students don't know yet what their plans are. They're not sure if they may be going on to a 2-year school, a 4-year school, military. For any of those programs, as well as apprenticeship programs, it's just really important for them to keep their classes. The other situation we have this year that students won't be able to make changes within their 4 classes, at least for this term, is we do have to keep them within the same cohorts. So if we do end up coming back in the building at some point, we want to make sure that students are with that same small group and they have to stay within that pod. So I know some students have asked about possible changes. Term 2, it will be a little bit easier as long as we can, again, keep them in that same cohort. SAT scores. It's interesting that you juniors, a lot of you were signed up on March 14th to take the SAT test when we closed school on the 13th, Friday the 13th. And so schools are no longer requiring or even asking for SAT scores for admission. And those scholarships that in the past always asked for SAT scores are no longer asking for them. We are not offering the SAT test here. And as far as I know, nobody in the area either is offering. So that's one more thing you can kind of take off your plate and not worry about those scores. And then the last thing that's really important, I think, for students to remember is that many of their classes are offering College Now credit. And it might be a class like Spanish 3-4 or pre-calculus or medical terminology, but it also could be a computer tech class, could be advanced engineering, drafting. All of those classes will offer that college credit. You just need to remember, since we're doing a year-long class in one term, to make sure you get signed up with your teacher at the end of each term in order to have that credit awarded. And your teachers will be working with you on that. Just kind of keep that as a reminder to make sure you register if you want that credit. And then at the bottom, we'll send out this PowerPoint so you'll have the links, but there's a really good link through Lane that lists all of our classes, what the college name is for each class, and then how many credits students can earn. And yeah.
We did have a question in the chat that what if the scholarship is still asking for the SAT scores? What should students do?
So if it is, would you shoot me a quick email? Let me know what scholarship it is. I just want to be on top of that. And then I'll be reaching out to at least all of our local organizations because I want them to understand why the SAT isn't going to be given and why you guys haven't had the opportunity to take it. So I'll make sure I do that locally, but if you know of a scholarship right now, just reach out to me and I'll check that out for you.
And then one more quick question. Do students have to request the college credit for their College Now class? Can you just touch on that again real quick?
Yes, so if you do want college credit, what you will do, and your teachers will help you with this, you're gonna register through Lane. Almost all the classes are through Lane, except we have a couple through Willamette Promise. You will create a ID so that you can go in and actually register for that class. It'll have a different course number. And again, your teachers will help you with that course number. You'll register for that class, and then your teachers here will provide the grade that will go on that college transcript. So you kind of double dip. You'll have both your high school class, which you will get credit for, as well as a college transcript that you will have that college for free.
And most teachers reserve a day to do that work. So the students don't necessarily have to request it. Teachers go through that process, and those that choose to opt in and those that don't want to kind of opt out at that point.
Okay, Lacey, you're up.
I'm trying to unmute my microphone. Sorry. Okay, so I just wanted to go over some next step options with you guys, and just kind of put everyone's mind at ease. I know, especially right now, considering everything that's going on with the pandemic, students might not be 100% sure about exactly what their post-high school plans are, but now is a great time to do some research and figure out maybe some possible options. And so we do have a couple of links that you guys will have access to when this goes out to you all after this presentation. We have a lot of resources that students can use to take a look at different career paths and different educational options and training for those career paths. We do have CIS, and then we have the College Board website will help with college searching. All of that is available to the students for free. So whether they are looking at trade schools, apprenticeships, a community college, a four-year university, or the military, all of these options are going to require a plan. My favorite thing to tell students is regardless of what you're going to do after you graduate, you will have to apply for it. You don't just get to say, I'm going to be a Marine, and poof, you're a Marine. You don't just get to say, I'm going to be an apprentice, and you're magically an apprentice. There is an application process, and that requires a little bit of planning. And we are here to help with that, and we also have some resources for you guys. Throughout the year, you as parents, as well as your students, are welcome to join us for a few different virtual events. They will be virtual for the foreseeable future, but I do have college admissions counselors virtually dropping in to talk to Cottage Grove High School students about financial aid and campus culture, the application for admissions process. And then there's a lot of really great local organizations and companies that are offering webinars and presentations and things like that for students to kind of pop into and get some of that information directly from industry partners, universities, organizations, and things like that. So all of that is listed on the website, and they will also get those notifications in their senior seminar Google Classroom, as well as Instagram. So we will put that information out on through a lot of different avenues, so they won't miss it. But you guys are also welcome to tune in to some of those as well.
And then we had a question about military. Do you know if there's going to be any virtual military connections at all?
Yes, I actually have 3 different branches have reached out, and we're working on scheduling just some virtual like drop-in visits where they can just kind of give a brief presentation and students can pop in and ask questions or just listen depending on what kind of information they're seeking. And those dates and times will be posted on the website as well. I think I just put everything under one tab on the website called like virtual career events or something like that. And there's a long list of things. And I'm recording everything as well, and I'll put it up on YouTube as well.
So financial aid, that can be really, really scary and overwhelming, I think, for parents. So we're going to touch on that tonight, but I think it's easier to have one event just to talk about financial aid so that you as parents or students can get your individual questions answered as well. But when we talk about financial aid, we're talking about all of those things that help students be able to go on to their next steps, whether it's loans, grants, scholarships, institutional money, local scholarships. So we will have a financial aid night on October 28th, so the end of this month. We'll do it virtually again. And we'll probably have somebody, we usually have somebody from U of O. They've got a great PowerPoint and presentation that's really clear and concise. And they also are kind of the experts as parents have questions. So we'll probably have somebody come in and give that presentation for us. And then a couple things that I wanted to mention around financial aid, because again, we throw so many terms at you. I think it takes a little while to get comfortable and familiar with what we're talking about with that. If you have students that are considering going out of state, and I know right now, and I've talked to students about this, many of them are totally unsure of what they want to do, which is absolutely okay. We do not expect all seniors to have their plan in place right now, but we do want them to start thinking about it, using the Career Center as a resource, watching videos, doing little job shadows or virtual tours, things to start getting that exposure. And if your student is thinking about out-of-state schools, one thing you might want to jump on right away is something called the Western Undergraduate Exchange. And that's a program for countries kind of on the western side of the United States. It includes Hawaii and I believe Alaska, where students can go out of state depending upon what program they want to go into, but they don't end up paying out of state tuition. So just something to maybe look at right off the bat. Some other programs that really help with finances, U of O has something called Pathway Oregon. That is based on parents' income and students' GPA, but that helps pay for the entire tuition for 4 years. So we've had students maybe live at home the first year and basically have that year paid for. Sometimes they may want to live at home a couple years because it is renewable, but that's a great way to offset that cost of school. Other schools have similar programs, OSU, Portland, State Western, they have other similar programs. Kind of the gatekeeper for all financial aid is what we call the FAFSA or ORSA. And those are two terms for an application that students and parents fill out now. It was open October 1st. So it now can be open. Parents can fill that out. Those applications then, once they're processed, are sent to the schools where students want to go. And that's how they begin finding out what they might be eligible as far as dollars. And so part of that process, which can again be a little confusing, we're going to have some nights available here at the high school where we are very safely going to have a small number of parents come in with their laptops and their tax forms, and then we will help them as they have questions. So we'll use our cafetorium so we can have parents spread way out throughout the whole cafetorium. We'll limit the number of parents. If you're comfortable with this, we're also going to provide boxed dinners, and that way you can be sitting on your laptop filling out that FAFSA and asking questions as you have questions. We'll send out more information, and again, we'll kind of take that on a week-by-week basis, but that's our thought right now. Another aspect of financial aid that's been really, really helpful for our students is the Oregon Promise. Many of you have maybe heard that term. That's for students that have a 2.5 GPA and attend school within the next term after graduation. And that again covers the majority of their tuition costs, not room and board, but their tuition costs, and for community colleges. And the last thing I just wanted to mention for financial aid, and I hope parents, some of you will touch base with me on this. I know sometimes it takes a lot to get IDEA, it's called a match savings program, in place, but it's for those students that have a job. There is kind of an income threshold that parents need to meet, but if your students are putting aside money every month because they have a job, the federal government matches that money 3-to-1, up to $7,000. So over a course of time, students can be saving their money and really fill that bank with money that they can use for school, those students that want to start a small business, that money is available there. It's also available for home purchase. So I don't think that this is something that's widely looked at, and I would be happy to give parents any additional information on that if they have questions. So again, on the 28th, we'll go into more depth for financial aid, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of an overview so you could begin thinking about some of those terms.
And once again, this is going to be on the website. We will share the presentation, and then Ms. Guest always sends out dates via Remind, and it's on Instagram. And so don't feel like you have to get all these dates down and memorize tonight. We'll have more opportunities to see these again. We did have a couple of questions about Oregon Promise. So one was, do we know when it's due? And then the other one was, is it based on income?
So Oregon Promise is through an OSAC application, OSAC, and we'll help your students with that. We actually, Lacey and I try to make all students do all parts of this financial aid process throughout the year. And the reason we kind of force them to do this, even if they say, hey, I'm not going to school, I'm not doing this, we say, well, why don't you do it anyway, just in case? And in fact, both Lacey and I had a couple seniors this summer stop us in the parking lot and say, you know what? I should have done that. Now I'm ready to go to school. Can you help me? So we want students to take advantage of all of these different programs, whether it's looking at apprenticeship programs, looking at military, looking at all the different pathways. Then in June, they can really decide what's best for them. So we will have all of your students absolutely fill out Oregon Promise. It's about a 10-question application, really simple. We'll have them do that. They will have to complete their FAFSA, though, if they want to be considered for that. We will be doing that probably November. So that'll be taken care of November, December. The deadline isn't for a while, but we like to get that done in plenty of time. Kevin, was there one more question? I'm sorry.
Just is Oregon Promise based on income?
That is a really good question. From year to year, it changes, and sometimes it changes in the summer. So I hate to give that vague of an answer, but sometimes it will be based on parents' income, but it's a sliding scale, and we never know that right away. But normally, the majority of families are offered some financial aid through that.
Okay, scholarships. So we're just going to talk a little bit more about financial aid. Usually when I go into classrooms, I like to bring candy or some kind of like game, because I know financial aid isn't the most exciting thing to talk about. I love talking about it, but I know the students don't always. But as parents, you might be a little more interested. So we do have a couple of different options for students to search for reputable scholarships. So Mrs. Evans has a super long list of scholarships, and then I spent some time this summer adding to that list. So we have compiled what I like to refer to as the terrifyingly long list of scholarships. They are all legitimate, the links are provided, and it's sorted by date that they're due. This is available on the website. There's over 200 of them. To make it a little easier, I have tabs at the bottom for students who want to search for specific kinds of scholarships. You can just click on the information at the bottom. It'll also be on the Google Classroom as well. CIS is a great place to look for scholarships as well. And again, students all have access to this for free. And they should know their username and password. If they don't, they can reset it. And they can access the link through the Cottage Grove High School website. We also have a few other resources on the Cottage Grove High School website under financial aid tab. I can drop the link in the chat in just a moment. And you guys will be able to see kind of a whole host of information about scholarships and financial aid there. And then the college website that the student plans to attend or is interested in attending, whether that be Lane Community College, whether that be Yale, whether that be the Springfield Welding School, all of these schools will have information about scholarships that they give out on their websites. That's always a good place to check for scholarship information as well. We will be working with students in senior SEM starting in January on local scholarships. Every year, the Cottage Grove community gives away hundreds of thousands of dollars to Cottage Grove High School seniors. And so considering that most scholarship students apply for, just national and even statewide, they're competing against sometimes thousands of people for that money. The local scholarships are just a better gamble. Applying for those, they're just, I mean, really, it's just for Cottage Grove High School students. So I definitely recommend students spending some quality time filling out local scholarships when we have those come up after winter break. And then application components, I've been getting a lot of questions from students about parts of scholarship applications. I know Vicki touched on some of these already with regard to like SAT scores and things like that. But what will remain this year are usually like a resume or an activity chart, and we will walk them through that in senior seminar. If they're doing what they're supposed to be doing in class, they will be set for their scholarship applications. We do have templates that they can use, so it should be a pretty painless process. It's just a matter of remembering everything that they did outside of the classroom throughout their high school career. Personal statements are going to be really important this year. I don't like the term essay. It tends to scare students. It's a really strong word. Usually personal statements are somewhere between 150 and maybe 300 words. They're very, very short. And so students need to be concise and it needs to be impactful. I recommend having an adult that they trust read them, proofread their personal statements with the students. I am happy to do that. They just have to share them with me on Google Drive. They can also enlist the help of a teacher, parent, guardian, some other trusted adult, but they should not turn in a personal statement that hasn't been proofread. And the last one is letters of recommendation. Usually we tell students to give a teacher plenty of time to write a letter. If they're going to request that a teacher write a letter of recommendation for them, don't wait until the day before. That is not what adults consider plenty of time. And so usually I say give them a couple of weeks so that they have time to write a really great letter of recommendation. Last couple of things on here for different demographics of students, including students whose parents are veterans or students who were or are in foster care system. There are other grant scholarships and funding options for those students as well. If you guys have particular questions about those options, just let us know and we can work individually with students based on their particular interests and their demographics, their situations. So we are happy to help you guys on an individual basis find some funding that way as well. Lastly, just be aware of scams. There are a million scholarship databases out there, and at least half of them are going to ask for information that they don't need. You should never have to pay for a scholarship. You should never have to pay for a scholarship search engine. And so just be aware of scams. And if anything looks a little fishy, don't trust it. Generally, your best bet is to go through reliable sources like the Cottage Grove High School website or the university or college or school website. Those are more reputable avenues for finding scholarships that won't ask for too much information or money.
Thank you, Lacey. And then just a couple of questions. So just to reiterate, this recording will be posted on the Cottage Grove website. And then also the slide deck will be available for students on the Google Classroom.
Can I just mention one other thing, Kevin, really quickly?
Please do.
So parents, please contact me with any questions at all that you have throughout this year, whether it has to do with classes or credits or next steps or whatever you need. Absolutely feel free to email, call, text. If it's easier to do like a virtual meeting, I'm happy to set that up. That's really easy to do. But feel free to whoops, one more person coming in. Feel free to contact at any time at all. And, you know, we'll have financial aid at the end of October, but we'll try to do this again in the spring because I know by then you'll have more questions. So, you know, as you feel like you're needing more evenings or nights to get together, I am more than happy to, and I think we all are, happy to get together and help you out. Thanks, Kevin.
So again, once again, this was just meant to be a general overview of what to expect for the upcoming year. There will be a lot more specific information and nights regarding FAFSA and scholarships and other things, as you've seen throughout the presentation. Students will get information through their senior seminar and then through the Google Classroom attached to the Career Center, and then the Instagram attached to the Career Center as well. And again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. So we thank you for your time. I'd like to thank the counselors and Ms. Guest again. And if there's no other questions in the chat, which seeing none, I thank you again and have a great day.
And we'll stay on. We'll stay on for a few minutes. If anybody has questions, feel free to stay for a couple minutes.
And I'll end the recording here so that people can ask them if necessary.